From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One ball, corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
And Tori Clark.
Wake up! What is up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Coming up on today's show, it is apparent the Power 2 is in no mood to play nice. Waist deep into March, but uncertainty looms of the basketball program, but high confidence after another sweep for Florida State baseball. Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida. CPTallybar.com, website 2475 Appalachia Parkway. Physical address. Lunch specials, $8.99, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Changes every single day. It's awesome how they do that. Monday, you get a half-pound all-black Angus beef burger. Delicious. Lettuce, tomato, onion, and pickle, obviously, but then a smorgasbord of options for your side dish. Straight fries, the curly fries, onion rings, potato salad, coleslaw, broccoli, side salad, tater tots, or freshly cooked potato chips. Yeah, that's right. What great options for your half-pound black Angus burger today. Go grab it over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida. And don't forget, tomorrow, 7 o'clock sharp, Trivia Tuesdays. Come and enjoy food and drink specials while playing some trivia. Warchant.com, ultimate Seminole sports source. Thumbs up, 5-star rating and review as well, please. Certainly would appreciate it. Recruiting sort of gearing back up, Corey Clark. Basketball heading into the postseason, both men's and women's. Bat and ball going strong. And spring football, not that far away. So come aboard, everybody. We're waiting for you. The water's just fine over here. How's the water up in the A? In Gwinnett, my friend. How are you, Corey Clark?
I'm good, buddy. It's a little chilly. I'll be honest with you. It got into the 30s a couple times. That's not supposed to be the case anymore. We're in March. But yeah, other than that, buddy, it's gone pretty well. It's pretty good. Got back from Nashville, little mini honeymoon. And, now back to work. Back to work, baby. For everyone, for all of you fine folks, I'm back to work.
How were those honky-tonks?
So, weirdly, I heard – what did we hear? We heard a song – we heard Creed, Higher, probably 4 different times, and the summer of '69.
Covers or the actual original renditions of the song?
No, I'm saying they're the bands. Every honky-tonk you go into, they have at least 2 bands playing at all times. Okay. One in like the 4th floor and one on the 1st floor, or 3rd and 2nd, whatever it is. And but people request songs. That's how they make their money. You Venmo them song requests. And we had a band play Rage.
Nice.
And then the other one said we tried to pay for them to play Rage at another bar, and they said that song had been banned by the owner because of too many F words. And that was killing in the name of. People, if you're of a certain age, you know what song it was. But anyway, really surprised. Never heard Wagon Wheel. Only heard Summer of '69 4 different times, which you wouldn't have thought. But we had a really good time. Nashville's a fun time. 3 nights is about enough of that kind of scene. You can picture it, Aslan.
Yeah.
Bunch of 25-year-olds,
bachelorette parties galore everywhere.
Yeah. Well, and just the
not
songs
just women,
they like.
Not just women. And boys, too, doing silly stuff, everybody. I wasn't picking on women. Sorry.
Correct. But it's that age. And I get it. My son's about to be there. I was there. It's just, you after about 2 or 3 days, when you're in your 40s, you're like, okay, this is kind of enough. Let's go back home. But it was fun. It was a good time.
I was going to say, I feel like I can do 3 days in New Orleans, probably 3 days in Vegas. I don't know how many days I could do in Nashville. Probably 3 as well. I was thinking about that because you guys have gone up there a few times. You like hanging out there, but I feel like this might be the last time for a few years. Maybe sit it out on the rotation.
I don't know if we'll ever do it again. It was Stephanie's first time, so that's why we did it. I'd been up there a few times. Actually, I'd been up there, speak of the devil, covering Florida State men's basketball.
That's right.
Saw them pull off the Xavier upset up there, and then saw them lose the year they won the ACC championship in 2012. They were sent to Nashville and lost to Cincinnati in the second round. So I've been to Nashville a couple times before that, but this was my first time, just basically spending all day. Oh, and I got something real quick I want to throw out at you. So we had tickets on Thursday night to the Ryman Auditorium, which is a famous venue in Nashville, 3,000-seat theater. We're going to go see a band we like, J.J. Gray, Southern Rock. You're not supposed to know who he is, but if you do, people of that ilk really like him. Anyway, we had tickets. We got him like on a whim. I didn't even know he was in Nashville, and we saw J.J. Gray's there Thursday night. Let's go. So anyway,
was he with Mofro or was it just J.J. Gray?
It was he had Mofro with him, so that adds something to it. So anyway, we're sitting there. We're on Broadway waiting for the show to start. It's about we got there probably at 3, but it's 5:00, and Garth Brooks is opening up his new bar, his honky tonk, right next door to where we are, in the honky tonk we're at. And ours was a honky tonk, but they kept playing 90s music, 90s rock music, so that's why we're in that bar. But anyway, we start to see a line form outside of Garth's place. And we're like, oh, so that's opening tonight. So I went to talk to some people in line that had gotten there at 4 in the morning. Ooh. And it opened at 7 p.m. And I'm like, is he going to play? And they're like, well, there's a chance he might play. And I'm like, so you're waiting in line just on the chance that he might play. And then her friend was like, he's calling you crazy, Mary. He's calling you. I'm like, no, I get it. You're a big fan. It makes sense, I guess. But there's no guarantee he's going to play. Yeah. And they said, no, there's not. But then, so I told a friend that. We texted a friend, Tim Lenefelt. And then he texted us a tweet that Garth had made at like 4:30 p.m. that day on him on top of the rooftop of his own bar throwing a football.
Nice.
And I'm like, wait, Garth is in town. And then I talked to another woman who was in line, as I just kept going back out every 30 minutes. And she goes, oh, yeah, he was on Good Morning America today with Robin Roberts. And they're making a whole documentary. They put up a sign right by the people in the line that said, if you come into this venue tonight, you agree to be a part of a documentary. Right, you agree to be filmed. This is the consent right here, you walking past the sign. And the line started to form, and I'm like, you know what, Steph? She's a big Garth fan. I'm not, but I would go listen to him in front if he's playing in front of 500 people. Yeah. I'm like, we would kick ourselves for the rest of our lives if we could get in this line right now and go see Garth Brooks play in a 500, 1,000, whatever it is, a 500-seat venue at his opening. We just happen to be in Nashville. Oh, yeah. It's in the stars. We're going to wait in line and do it. We waited in line for an hour. We got in there at 7 p.m. We stayed there till 12 a.m., and he never showed up. And we ate the tickets that we had that night. But do you think it was worth the risk?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Good. All right.
But then again, I'm not a big J.J. Gray and Mofro guy.
Well, I know like 4 or 5 of their songs, but it was more like the expense of buying those tickets, and then we put them up. But that would have been a lifetime experience to be in that venue with Garth, even if he only sang for 30 minutes. Yeah. But Garth let all his fans down, and I hope he's happy.
I feel like you need to tell that story, but just set it up perfectly about like there's people waiting in line till 4 in the morning. Yeah. We ended up jumping in line at 7 o'clock. It only took us an hour to get in there, and then we're there till midnight, and it was awesome, and they never showed up.
I mean, it was very. When we got in there, the lady on stage that was the on the main stage was like, "Well, we're here with y'all for the next 3 hours, so get." And I'm like, "Oh no, that didn't sound good." It was like a record scratch, like when the record. I was like, So Garth's not coming on, and then and once we saw the act after them get up on stage, we were hoping they were roadies, but once they strapped on the guitar and started like tuning up, we're like, oh, this is a bad idea. But we still saw live music. And again, life is about gambles, Aslan, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's about gambles. We made a gamble, didn't pay off, but I still feel good about the risk we took. Much like you would say the Florida State athletic department feels good about the risk they took with Mike Norvell and I guess you could say now with Link Jarrett.
Okay, bringing it back to Tennessee.
That was
bringing
a
it back
good
to Florida
transition,
State,
right?
Bringing it here.
Yeah.
All right. We want to jump right to baseball? Let's jump right to baseball then.
Oh, it's up to you. That's why I brought up Norvell and Jarrett. I figured you could go both directions if you wanted.
All right. Well, let's force football then.
Okay.
Mike Norvell decided to stay in the ACC at Florida State over Alabama. Appreciate you, Mike. We'll always appreciate that. Ross Dellinger did some reporting over the weekend, Corey. I think you retweeted. Yeah. I think I retweeted. I think Ira retweeted it. Just about this whole Power 2 concept seems to be becoming more crystallized. I don't know if that's accurate or not. It kind of feels like it is. And they might be backing off on one part of their New World Order here, which was them getting automatic buys, right. Which I almost kind of wonder at this point how sincere that was. I almost wonder if that was just kind of a front of like, hey, let's ask for this. This will piss a bunch of people off, but then underneath it all, we'll start pushing this agenda through, like almost some sort of Capitol Hill stuff.
Also, what are the odds that an SEC or Big Ten champion isn't getting a bye?
True.
You know what I mean? Like it's like so they go back on that. They're like, okay, well that's a non-starter, right? We get it. We'll take that off the table. But you know you're going to get the teams in you want anyway.
Yeah.
So you're not really making any concession at all. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
So as the college football playoff started back in 2014, 80% of the revenue roughly was evenly distributed amongst the Power 5 schools. So, Florida State was getting as much as Wazoo. Oregon State was getting as much as Vanderbilt, getting as much as LSU pretty much. Power 5, killing it. Group of 5, only getting the other 20% of it. Well, now that they're going to make this move to 12 teams for however long that's going to last, the proposal, 58% of the revenue is going to go towards this Power 2, SEC schools and the Big Ten schools. Meanwhile, 31% will get divvied up between ACC programs and the Big 12. And then the remaining money will go to 10% roughly, gets to Notre Dame and 64 other Group of 5 teams. So put that maybe in a little bit of raw numbers. SEC and Big Ten are going to have $760 million to divvy up between themselves. The ACC and Big 12, $440 million. It's just not getting any better here. It's not getting any better here on this side of town, on this side of the fence.
So what is that per school, $760 million, divided by what? 14, 16? How many schools are in the SEC?
I think it's 32. There's 16 in the Big Ten, 16 in the SEC, and then I don't know with SMU, Stanford, and I think are we at 16 right on the ACC? And I think
so. The SEC and for people just to clarify, this is the playoff contract. This is the college football playoff contract. This still isn't. This doesn't have anything to do necessarily with like ESPN and Fox's other deals. Does that make sense?
Right, correct.
Like this isn't like what we've been lamenting for years is the disparity between the ESPN SEC deal and the ESPN ACC deal. This is just strictly the college football money. Correct. So that's $47.5 million per school for those Big Ten and SEC schools. And then what did you say it was? What's the overall for the ACC?
It's going to be $440 million.
Okay, let me do some quick math.
And Florida's and there's 16 in the Big 12 starting next year. ACC has 17.
So that's $25.8 million per school per year. So that's $17 million, roughly about a $17 million difference for Vanderbilt, Purdue, and Florida State, just from the playoffs alone. On top of the extra 40 or 50 million, 40 million, let's say, they get from their restructured TV deals. So now you're talking these college football TV contracts are going to be paying these other conferences, schools, about 57, let's even round down to about $55 million per year more than your school gets. So over the course of a 10-year deal, now they're not going to run 10 years, but over the course of 10 years, if it stayed like that, you were talking about over $500 million that Purdue, Northwestern, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, Ole Miss,
or just say
Oregon,
Florida. Just Florida's going to make that much more than you.
$550 million more in revenue
That's
to do whatever they want with.
There's a lot of fired coaches they can go through to find the right one.
To do whatever, or just get as big a coaching staff as you want. Get it. I mean, it's just. It's crazy, and it's what I tweeted about. It's like all of a sudden, and I didn't really get into this because I was on a honeymoon. I was supposed to be paying attention to the new wife, but like all of a sudden, it's like it's starting to click with some national folks. Like I don't know that this is very good for the sport, and it's like no shit. We've been bleep that out, but it's like we've been saying that for years. I said it when Sankey was being just lauded nonstop by the national people because of his sneakiness of the Texas-Oklahoma thing and how he had made the SEC so much stronger. It's like, yeah, he's killing the sport. He's killing the sport as we know it, and he's going to end up making it a power two. He wants to make it a power one, honestly. He just wants the SEC to be all there is. He wants it to be NASCAR, and only people in the South care about it.
Yeah, and the SEC is actually going to get more of a split of the Power 2 than the Big Ten is going to get from like that college football playoff distribute. Like the socialized proposal they sent amongst all the administrators of those schools, SEC is still going to get a little bit more than the Big Ten. So even within the Power 2, the SEC is still the power.
Yeah, and then it's like, what could the ACC and the Big 12 do? They could say, I mean, obviously they want to say no. They should say no. But then the SEC and Big 10 might legitimately say, okay, well, then we're going to have our own championship.
I think they'd be okay with that too, Core. That's what's scary, man.
I know, and that's where the greed of all of this is so preposterous, and I don't even know if preposterous is the right word. It's just so disappointing and disheartening and discouraging that at no point would you, like, even the Harlem Globetrotters need an opponent. Like, the Washington Generals do get paid. Like it's just it's crazy to me that you would think it's like Sankey, and I guess we could throw the Big Ten commissioner in there too. But I just, most of it is, this is my ire is reserved for Sankey. It's as if he's so laser focused on his one viewpoint. We must crush everyone. We must rule the sport. We must rule the world. They don't understand what it's doing to the rest of the sport. And so what you're looking at is now the Big Ten and the SEC are really trying to break away completely. They want to do that. And now, look, you guys all know we want Florida State in one of those conferences, but not because we enjoy what they're doing.
Yeah.
Or we
it's survival.
condone it.
Yeah, survival, man.
It's just about, you want Florida State to be a part of this sport moving forward. But this sport has completely devolved into madness and chaos, with nobody really as a steward trying to do what's right for the sport. And for the last 5 years, all the national folks just let it happen. And that's not true. I shouldn't speak in hyperbolic. I will say it like this. The only negative reaction I saw from any media types in the last 5 years, really, was about Florida State wanting out of the ACC. I don't remember seeing anything about how Sankey had basically crippled the sport by taking Texas and Oklahoma. Yeah. And that the Big Ten crippled the sport by taking USC and UCLA and now Washington and Oregon. Like that was more, they were lauded for being forward thinkers in staying ahead of the curve and keeping up with the SEC, or the SEC trying to make this power grab. And what a bold move by Sankey. And not one person would think to be, well, I wonder what this is going to look like. How is this going to make the sport better? And obviously it doesn't. It's made it worse. And you are going to have, in 5 years, if this goes the way that those two conferences want it to go, you will have the NFC and the AFC, and then the Arena League Central Division. We'll get a spot in that playoff. And it's really, really disheartening. But hey, you know what? I'm still in that marital bliss. Yeah. Not even worried about it. I'm not going to let Sankey ruin my marriage.
Like, I understand he almost kind of functions as a commissioner, as like Roger Goodell, in terms of, like, I've got to do what's best for the owners of these NFL teams. Like, I've got to do what's best for my SEC schools, the fiduciary duty that the ACC apparently, was neglectful of. But, like, what is the end game? Like, at what point is too much? It's not enough for them, apparently. I just don't understand.
The end game for them is to be the NFL and to have 30 teams all compete. I mean, the NFL, man, the NFL could have 50 teams if it wanted. I'm sure there's plenty of cities in this country that could support an NFL franchise and would sell out those stadiums and build stadiums for those teams.
They're trying to expand to Europe, so yeah, they might.
But I mean, they're not in a real rush, right?
Yeah.
Like they like it. Those owners like splitting a smaller pie. I mean, it's a huge pie. Yeah. They like having bigger slices. Yep. And so that's what they want. They want 30 teams. They want it to be as much. They want it to make as much money as the NFL and not have to divvy it up and give it to Texas Tech and Boston College and West Virginia and all these schools. They want to keep it for themselves. And so, yeah, that's the end game. To what end? But the bad news, again, is nobody looks at the totality of the sport and what it's done to the sport and how it's going to kill interest in certain regions of this country in the college football. And, right now it's very, very popular, but it's enormously popular in one region of the country. And if you don't take care of the rest of the country, it might just turn into a regionalized sport where nobody, I don't know, man, west of the Mississippi, west of Columbus, Ohio, will care at all about the sport. And that's just dumb. It's just so, it just lacks any real perspective. It's so short-sighted. But whatever. I know money talks, and they all want to make $50 million a year more. So who can blame them, I guess?
Not that I disagree with you, but obviously if Florida State were able to find their way, I don't know if I just wonder if at any point the Big Ten and the SEC purge programs. Like, I don't know if they can keep Kentucky basketball but get rid of Kentucky football, or keep Arkansas basketball, get rid of Arkansas football, or vice versa. Because I'm sure somebody else has done this before I did, but I'll just started mocking out all this sort of stuff to where if they were told like ACC and Big 12 push back, like we don't want to go through with this, and the SEC and Big 10 are like, all right, fine, we'll figure it out ourselves. Man, you end up having, the NFL. You've got 16 teams on one conference, 16 teams in the other conference, and you go ahead and figure out your champion and you play in a Super Bowl, you play in a national championship game. You would have arguably, you'd have a division. You could have Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State, and Maryland in one division of the Big Ten. You could have Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas A&M in a division of the SEC. I mean, you're playing home and homes. If you're Texas, Oklahoma, you're playing home and home instead of one neutral site game. You're Ohio State, Michigan, you're playing home and home. It actually, I don't know, I feel almost like I'm betraying the spirit and the ethos of the sport, because it feels like if you do get the 32 best or the 32 most committed to football teams in this country, you would have a really awesome product, maybe even better than what we have now. But that hinges on your favorite team, Florida State, getting into this setup, and I just don't know how they end up penetrating and getting through to getting an invitation to these premier Power 2 programs. That's very anxious feeling.
Well, yeah, I get it. But again, it's like we've talked about. The Big Ten, clearly they're doing well. But if they want to truly compete with the SEC and maybe not give more money to that conference, you go and get two teams that are desperate to get into your conference. And then it becomes the SEC playing defense, trying to keep them out. So that's Florida State's avenue. Like, look, man, Florida State, out of the teams that aren't in those two conferences right now, is, well, I guess Notre Dame. It's Notre Dame and Florida State are by far two most attractive entities, and that are let's call them independents, and it's not close. So yes, I don't think you could have anything like you're talking about, which I do think that's where it will go in our lifetimes. But hopefully I'm 80 when it happens. But I do think it'll end up getting to that spot you're talking about, where it's just like two super conferences, two leagues, 35, 40 teams, I guess. I don't know how in the short term you tell Purdue, we appreciate you being in the Big Ten all these years, but you're out now. You don't win enough and you don't get enough eyeballs, which is fair, but I don't know if that's a realistic way to approach things. So, yeah, I think Florida State won't be on the outside looking in. I don't think whatever the final incarnation of this thing looks like, what the iteration of this looks like, Florida State I think is in there because Florida State is one of the absolute big boys. But in the meantime, it's incredibly frustrating to just know, and I just keep bringing up Purdue because they've done nothing. They landed a man on the moon. Neil Armstrong went to Purdue. That's really cool. Good job, Boilermakers. And they have Drew Brees. And I don't know, man, they got this as Zach Edey. Like, they've had some good things happen at Purdue University, but, man, they have accomplished nothing on the football field that matters. And you're telling me they're going to have in 5 years they'll have a better shot in winning a national championship because of the resources they'll have than Florida State and Miami and Clemson? This is like, again, Bud Selig got so much grief, and rightfully so, for the way he ran baseball. But a lot of the times he really was, in my opinion, trying to do what was best for the sport. Didn't work out all the time, but he was trying to do what was best for the sport. College football is an enormous, enormous business that has nobody looking out for its well-being. Nobody. There's nobody in charge. So everybody looks out for their own best interest. Nobody looks out for the best interest of the sport. There is no commissioner, and they need one, but why would anybody elect one now? How would that even start? There's a college football commissioner, right? Or a playoff committee chairman, but there's no real power there. That's Kirk Herbstreit. That's Herbstreit's job. So yeah, man, it's frustrating. It's just, again, I just thought it was amusing that Dan Wetzel was like, if this doesn't stop, the Big Ten and the SEC are looking to take control of the sport. It's like, what have you been looking at, dude? Like, this has been, I mean, what is that even, what tweet? You're a smart guy and a really good writer. How could you possibly write something like that, knowing that they've been trying to run this sport and have run this sport for at least the last decade, and they just got kind of a average Alabama team into the college football playoff ahead of a 13-0 team from a Power 5 champion that was from a Power 5 conference. First time it ever happened. But hey, now the SEC and the Big Ten are trying to take control. Buddy, they've had control, and it's been obvious. And now the national writers, media, hopefully, are tuning into it, but I don't know what good it will do now. You know, it's awful for the sport, and it's a bummer because anybody listening to this show really loves the sport.
What would you rather see, Corey, for the 14-team playoff? Would you rather see a 2-2-1-1-1-7 model? That would be two for the SEC, 2 for the Big Ten, ACC, Big 12, and highest group of 5 get an auto bid, and then 7 at large. Or would you rather just see 5 and then 9 at large? Do you want more at large or less at large?
Well, and where did we? Now we're at 14, not 12.
Because we're going to go to 14.
Why not? Only college football, Division I college football, goes to these odd numbers. You don't have 14-team tournaments. You have 8 or 16. Like you make it even. Like I guess they're going to do like what the NFL with wild cards.
Yep.
Gosh.
Well, yeah, because now there's one bye in each conference.
Yes.
So if you go to 14 teams, you have your current 12-team bracket, but you just add one team at the top.
So their thought was the SEC champ gets a bye, and the Big Ten champ gets a bye, and everybody else plays.
Yep.
Which will be the case either way, almost certainly. Because they have a committee. You know, they all vote. They're still going to have the committee that votes who gets where. And I promise you they'll make sure the SEC and the Big Ten champs get taken care of because we know history. I guess I would like each conference. What'd you say? Each conference getting 2? There's only 4 conferences.
The Power 2 get 2 a pop. Then ACC keeps the automatic bid, and the Big 12 gets an automatic bid, and then you get your group of 5 gets thrown in there as well.
So I guess I would like that. I don't want 9 at larges because that's going to be 8 from the Big Ten and the SEC.
Fair.
So I don't want. I mean, it'll probably be that way. It'll be close to that anyway. But yes, it would be cool to have. It'd be cool for the ACC to have 2 guaranteed spots. Again, it makes the conference championship games completely useless.
I hope they get rid of those.
Yeah, they might. I think they will. I think they'll football again. You know, just look where we are now compared to where we were 20 years ago. It's gotten away from us in such a crazy pace. But like college football will end up being like college basketball in that North Carolina just won the ACC regular season tournament championship, right?
Right. Correct.
Well, that's what it'll be. You'll have a regular season champion as you might have people tie for champions. Or they'll be like the 5th tiebreaker, but there won't be games because all these coaches are going to complain about. Kirby's going to be like, well, why do I need to play LSU when I've already locked in a 1 seed? And this game means nothing for our overall goal, which is a national championship. This isn't fair to us. I don't want to risk injury. I don't want to have another week to prepare where I can't rest or prepare for our first round game. I've got to play LSU.
Or
meanwhile, Florida State gets to play Louisville or whoever.
Or is he afraid about getting knocked out again? Like I kicked.
Well, I don't think he'd get knocked out. That's my point. If you're in the SEC championship game, you will be in the playoff.
Yeah.
There's no chance you won't be. Yeah. So that's what will happen. Is the SEC will run that too, and the ones that created this entire thing with the very innovative move back in 1992 to have a conference championship game will also be the first one that matters that says we're getting rid of it. It doesn't do what we need it to do for us anymore.
If they were to ever do 2 conferences, 16 teams each, the NFL model, let's call it, would you want Florida State and Florida to be in the same division so they played home and home every year, or would you just want them to be intra-conference rivals to where they just played once a year.
I don't want anybody to play home and home. I don't like that idea. Variety is the spice of life, man. You want to play different teams. You only get 12 games. You don't want 2 of them to be against the same team.
Well, we'd go to a 13-team schedule, so we'd play each other twice in our division, and then 1 team from each division in our conference, and then 1 team each from a team in each division in the other conference. So, like, if in this NFL model, it would be Georgia, Florida, Florida State, and Tennessee, let's say, in a division. So we'd play Georgia home and home, Florida home and home, Tennessee home and home, and then we'd play Ole Miss, Arkansas, and LSU, and then let's say Michigan State, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Southern Cal.
No, don't need a home and home with Florida.
Okay.
Just keep doing what you're doing. It'd be cool to have a home and home with all those other schools because you haven't been to most of them.
Yeah.
But Florida, you go there every other year. You played over there 40 times. Nah, you don't need a home and home with them.
All right. And then lastly, how much of all this money grab, if you want to call it that, how much of this is just posturing and positioning themselves for inevitable paying of players where the school actually has to do it and they don't crowdsource, crowdfund, collectives, and the whole unionization stuff happens? How much is this then trying to think 3 steps ahead?
Yeah, I mean, if this money can be shared with the players, again, though, you think about that now, Aslan. So, yeah, I think there's a chance that this added revenue, there will be a portion of it when this is all said and done that will be allocated for the players. I don't know if people saw, but there's going to be some tournament next year for college basketball in which the winning team, the proposal is that each team gets $1 million to appear, and then the winning team gets an extra $1 million. Jeez. So you're talking about, I don't know what that is per player, $80,000 extra per player, something like that, or maybe they have deals where if you're the leading scorer, you get 200. Who knows what it is? But they've already proposed that. So what will happen is a portion of the playoff money at some point will be set aside and stipend to the players. Well, guess what, Aslan? I just read those numbers to you, right? Mm-hmm. It was $45 million to $27 million.
Yes.
So yeah, Florida State's going to have less money to pay its players than Alabama, Georgia, Florida, and all the rest. So that's where it's going. That's why they need to fight like hell to not agree to that. It's crazy that the Big Ten why does the SEC need more money?
I don't. That's why I don't understand.
What are they you already going to get $40 million more than every Big 12 and every ACC team. Why then do you need an extra $15 million per year per school? Like why? Like it's just complete.
They all have awesome football stadiums. They have awesome baseball stadiums. They have awesome softball stadiums and basketball arenas. And all their coaches are making a whole bunch of money. And so are all the administrators. And I don't understand. I guess.
Why would they? Why, if it's supposed to be an equal footing, and we all know it isn't, but everybody's playing for the same championship. Why then would you split it up in a college football in this landscape to say these 2 conferences are getting paid more than your other 2 conferences? We're all equal now. We all got a fair shot at trying to win this national championship. It is a national championship. We're all excited. But, these 2 conferences, what's the motive there? To just completely break the other conferences, right? To just or just to thumb your nose at them, to basically flick them off, throw poo at them, however you want to describe it, that's what you're doing. It's completely and utterly pointless. You're already dominating the sport. This is just basically salt in the wound, man. Just doing it to do it. Just doing it to do it. Like you are going to still get all those eyeballs, and you're still going to have more money than you know what to do with if you create this equal share of the Power 4 conferences. But no. Oh, no. We want more just because we can ask for it, because we have leverage and you don't, and so we're going to ask for more money. And what are you going to do about it? Nothing. You're lucky we're giving you any money at all.
On the bright side, as we wrap this portion of the show up, I think, nothing this sport has ever done has made sense. It would make sense, I would think, sadly, for Florida State, if they wanted to maximize their money and just the whole way the sport is now played out, is to go to 2 conferences, 16 teams a pop. But that makes too much sense. So they're not going to do it.
Right.
I look forward to them figuring out a way to expand even further and going to 20 teams maybe in each conference and then figuring out a 40-team league, which is just bizarre.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any professional sports league that's got 40 teams in it. But, hey, doesn't make sense. It's college football.
Yeah,
it's worked out all this time.
Correct.
What does make sense is using promo codes to maximize your dollars out there. Maybe a promo code that gets you an item for free when you buy one of equal or lesser value. You can do that over at vitaminenergy.com. That promo code is Warchant BOGO. Buy one, get one free. Vitamin Energy, world's first clinically proven energy shot to improve your energy level, obviously, because there's 260 milligrams of all-natural caffeine, but to also reduce brain fog and increase your focus, as well as better your mood. That's right. They did a study, and that's what it fleshed out, everybody. Stuff tastes great as well. Energize you for 7 hours. You can take it on the go wherever you got to go because the bottle's not even 2 fluid ounces, yet it gives you all the energy you need to get through your day, as well as packed with nutrients and vitamins. Florida State folks behind the helm of Vitamin Energy, hooking you folks up with that promo code. I saw out there they partnered last year, I think, with Barstool, Corey. In case people know about them, they also do podcasts, maybe bigger than Warchant, maybe not. And they gave them a promo code that was 30% off. So ours is buy one, get one free. A little bit better.
There you go. Yep,
That's
absolutely.
Florida State folks, taking care of Florida State folks. Give it a shot. Shake it and take it. The time has changed. The sun is going down, and the sun's coming up later, and you're all screwed up out there. So you need your energy. Try Vitamin Energy. Go to vitaminenergy.com. Promo code Corey.
Warchant BOGO.
Basketball. Crushing it, taking out Matt Cleveland and the Canes on Saturday. Take that, Matt. Look where you could have been. You could have been on top with us. No, you're not. No, you're not. So Florida State gets a coveted, can we call it a coveted bye? Which is crazy to think about the way we've spoke about this team here recently, Corey. They're obviously going to be in the conference tournament, but they got to bye. They will take on Virginia Tech on Wednesday at noon. If they win that, they'll play the top seed North Carolina on Thursday at noon as well. I mean, don't let him and the boys get hot. But, listen, it's better than being the 10th seed and being NC State and having to go through one more, obstacle in your way. How do you size up Florida State after they beat Miami? And I don't know if you heard Leonard Hamilton's post-game interview, but they're going to D.C. to win the whole thing, man. He was talking about LSU, Georgia in the past, teams that, were barely above 500 but made runs through their conference tournaments and then ended up making deep runs into the tournament in March. So he believes. I don't know if you're there fully, but what did you take away from Sunday's game to cap off the regular season with a much-needed win over Miami? Which
Saturday's game.
Saturday, sorry. Which
Come
apparently
on,
they do all the time, right? Where they're 12-1 in their last 13?
12-1 in their last 13, and I think 14-2 in the last 16. Just crazy.
Not bad.
Because the last 13, it's not like Florida State has been that appreciably better a program. Like these last 3 years have not been good, and they're still 5-1.
And Miami went to the Final Four last year, if I'm not
mistaken. And the year before that went to the Elite Eight. Yeah. And Florida State swept them then. That's just a bizarre thing going on there. Hey, shout out to I'll give credit where it's due. The Florida State men's basketball social media team, the Twitter account. Yeah. The picture they used for the final score was Taylor Bowen just stuffing Matt Cleveland on a jump shot in the lane. And it was not an impactful play in the game. I barely remembered it. I think it happened maybe early in the second half. Might have been the first half. But it was not an impactful play. But it said everything that they needed to say without really taking a shot. But it did take a shot. And, that's what – look, it's what happens when you transfer from one school to the rival. Mm-hmm. And the rival that you transferred to just went to the Final Four. And you just had the worst year in program history, the school you transferred from. And now the team you're on is now on a 9-game losing streak, and you lost twice to Florida State, the team that you should have handled easily. You know what I mean? Like it's just so you got to take shots. There's not a lot of glee to go around for this season, but that's one of them. Maybe that's a little immature. I don't know, but I feel like Florida State fans can get behind that sentiment that the Florida State basketball Twitter account had. But yeah, from the game itself, I don't know. There's not much to take away. It was two mediocre teams. Mediocre, average teams that didn't guard real well, and it's a nice win. It's just a cool win to finish your season 16-15. Guarantee you're not going to have a losing record, and which is when you're coming off a 9-20 season or whatever what were they? Can't remember what they were. 9-30, 9-23. when you're so bad the year before and then the next year you're 500, well, that's a nice step. That's a positive step. Unlike the baseball team and the football team, though, when they went from horrible, like Florida State's baseball team last year was horrible, the worst in the program history, just like the basketball team, which is crazy those happened in the same year. Well, now this year the baseball team is appreciably better as well. We don't know how good it is yet because of the competition, but 14-0 is 14-0. They're much better, but it's also it's the building of something. And it's with a coach in his early 50s that just got here. And you have a lot of young contributors. This basketball team, you just don't know what it's building towards because from year to year in college basketball, you really have no idea what the roster is going to be. So is Jameer Watkins going to be back next year, Aslan? We don't know.
Yeah,
he can come back. He gets a COVID year. I don't think he took part in senior day festivities. But when he showed up to the arena, I know FSU Basketball Twitter account tweeted Seniors Day, and they tweeted a picture of him. So who knows what that meant? Or maybe I just didn't see it right, but I'm almost positive it was Jameer Watkins they took a picture of. So it's like I don't know what to take from this season because I don't know who will be on the team next season. Is Primo going to be back? Is Jameer going to be back? Who do you like? Who do you like? Darren Green won't be back. Cam Corrin's a nice player offensively. He's got some game. But you just don't know what exactly is being built upon because you don't know who's going to be back. But that said, 9-23 or whatever they were to 16-15 is an enormous step. I shouldn't say enormous. Let me rephrase. Because it wasn't an enormous step, but it's such a better team. And it was such a more enjoyable watch. The result is, if you want to look at it in black and white, no, they didn't make the tournament either year. I do not foresee them going on a 3-game winning streak. I guess would it be a 3-game or a 4-game? 3-game, right?
To make it to the championship game, it'd be 4 to win the whole thing. Yeah.
So to win the whole thing, yeah, that's right. So it'd be a 4-game winning streak that would include beating the champs. Now it's in Washington D.C., so that will help. It won't be in North Carolina.
They played them really good. They played them really good twice.
Oh, they did, and it will be a home. It won't be a home game for North Carolina. So yeah, they certainly have a puncher's chance. The only issue I have, Aslan, and I've had it for the whole year, is teams that usually win things like this, that go on runs like this, just get impossibly hot from 3-point range. Like that's the great equalizer. They Lord knows they tried to do it on Saturday. Man, they took 34 threes.
Darren Green had 8. Come on, give him his flowers, man.
8 out of 15, yeah. I mean, he just kept shooting. He's like, this is my last game. I'm going out like Kobe. I'm just going to shoot it. And it was that. Part of me when I was watching that, it's like, yeah, they should just be doing this the whole time because what it does when you shoot so many threes, it does open up the possibility for more offensive rebounds because the ball bounces everywhere. And Lord knows when Florida State's missing, they're going all over the court, these misses. So you have a better chance to go run down a loose ball. And they did get a lot of offensive rebounds off those 3-point attempts. And then Darren Green did get hot and made 4 out of his last 5 and kind of took over the game with a few threes in the second half. So that was good. That was good to see. But I just don't know if they have the ability to string together enough made shots to go and win 4 games in a row. I don't foresee that happening. So the real question is, it's awesome they beat Miami. I want to concentrate and focus on that. It's really cool when you beat your rival, when you sweep your rival, especially a rival coming off a Final Four with your best player from a year ago. So I don't, and they weren't an abject embarrassment like they were last year. They do play hard. They just can't do some things defensively. They're just not good defensively at all. But they do at least try. They play hard. And they have some nice pieces, man. Jameer Watkins is an all-ACC caliber player. You look up at the end of the game, and I'm like, I don't even remember him making that many shots. And he had 16 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, and 4 steals. That's just what he does. He's that player. He's been incredible. He's been great. And then other guys have had their moments. Darren Green's had some nice games. Jalen Worley, I thought, was really good in the second half. Primo Spears is just going to do some stuff that makes you don't even know what's going on, what you're watching, but then he'll also make some big shots. And Cam Corrin's had some nice moments offensively. But the real question is, I think that people listening to this, if they are still listening to this, what's the future of the program? Where does it go from here? And we just can't know that until you know what the roster is. Like they have a chance to build around, I don't know, Watkins, Worley, Corrin, Bo Bowen is a pretty nice player, or has the chance to be. He's springy. But you got to get some shooters out. You got Primo could come back, but you've got to sprinkle more shooting around. If you can get some real shooters, this could be a tournament team next year if all those guys come back. But that's a huge if. So right now, you just, I don't know, tip your cap to the fact that they weren't horrible. They were pretty good. Or they were not pretty good. They were average. But average is certainly better than embarrassing, which is what they were last year. And they got to beat Miami twice in a row, which is always fun.
A bit of a bummer in the college baseball world. Florida State, they're now 14-0. There's another team out there that's also undefeated, so Florida State can't say they're the only undefeated team out there in the country. It's Texas A&M.
Right.
They gave up 8 runs to Rhode Island in the 7th inning.
Yeah.
8 innings.
Yeah, they were up 7-0. Texas A&M was up. So I wrote my column after the game, the Florida State game, and I checked the Texas A&M score because I wanted to make sure, because I knew they were the only 2 undefeated teams in the country. And so when I was writing that, I'm like, Florida State's one of only 2 undefeated teams in the country, and I checked the score, like, I want to make sure Texas A&M didn't lose. And they were up 7-0. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, well, I got that. And then I looked up, and Rhode Island had taken the lead.
Yep.
And A&M was down to like its last out in the 9th, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
They played at 2 in the 9th, and then they had the game-winning run in the 10th, so they beat Rhode Island, who's 2-10 on the year. The Rams, the mighty Rams, shout out Steph. A&M wins 16-0. But meanwhile, closer here to home, Florida State takes out UNO, University of New Orleans, the Privateers. And I know we'll get to know a lot more about this team this week, Corey, because they play Florida down in Gainesville on Tuesday. Then they'll host Notre Dame in their ACC opener this weekend.
And then next week, I think they travel to Stetson, and then they're at Clemson.
All right.
So we'll know by this time next week when we're talking to, or 2 weeks from now when we're talking to each other, we will know a lot more, right, about this baseball team. But go on. Sorry, my bad.
No, you're good. I think we do like the starting pitchers, at least what we know from the weekend of Cam Leiter and Jamie Arnold. And it seems like Connor Whitaker's probably going to get back in that mix because Link said that Notre Dame was kind of a target for them to get Connor back into the weekend sort of slate. So it's always been about the bullpen, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But we continue to kind of wonder if the bullpen can be all right, then this team will be probably better than we anticipated. But, man, offensively, I just feel like right now, like if we had to break this, like the 9 guys in the lineup offensively into like tiers, if you had like a NFL first round pick, I don't want to say Major League Baseball first round pick because it's a much more crazy sort of draft. There's so many more players than the NFL, but I mean, let's just call them like, I think James Tibbs and Cam Smith are like A++ elite dudes. Yeah. I mean, they are it. I think no matter who you play, where you play, they're going to show up. Yeah. And then the tier maybe below them, you've got, I think, 4 guys. I think Drew Farreau, I think Marco Dinges, I think Jaime Ferrer, and Alex Lodies is now heating up. They're a very reliable set of guys that are going to deliver, I think, throughout the weekend series when they play better competition. I think it comes down to the guys like Diamez Ross, Daniel Cantu, and McGuire Holbrook. All 3 of those guys have played really solid so far. If those guys can deliver in weekend series against ACC opponents and midweek games against teams like Florida, I feel exponentially better about where they can go. I said super, but regional is what's a much more reasonable, practical expectation to put on this team. I've seen enough to where, again, man, I think Cam Smith and James Tibbs are so rock solid awesome, and I'm so confident that other tier, guys like Farreau and Dinges and Ferrer and Lodies, that, man, when it comes down to like 3 other guys, if they can deliver for you, you're in a really good place offensively, and their pitching is going to be pretty solid, it feels like, at this point.
Yeah, and, you got guys like, I just opened up the stats, you got guys like Max Williams, too, Jackson West. Like, they have, I think I did it, they have 11 guys, am I looking at this right? 11 guys, 12 guys that have at least 20 at-bats on the season, and all of them are hitting over 300, and like 6 of them are hitting 400. Mm-hmm. The fact that Holbrook and West, the 2 catchers, are hitting 407 and 400 respectively with 20 RBIs between them. I mean, that's crazy. Yeah. And only 6 strikeouts. So, again, between them. And that's what I wrote in my column that you guys can read on the website. What am I talking about? I know you guys have already read it. It's a baseball column from Corey Clark in March. Are you kidding me? You guys soaked that up. They put the ball in play, man. Like they don't have a ton of swing and miss. And again, I get it. They're not facing exactly first round arms here the first 14 games of the season. But they're doing what they're supposed to do to mediocre pitching. They're pulverizing it. No. Man, they're hitting 370. What are they hitting? 377 as a team, and they're slugging 630. And Cantu hasn't even really gotten going yet. He hit 11 home runs last year at South Florida. He doesn't have one yet. Lodis has finally gotten going. You see what he can be, and he's your number 9 hitter. So again, they're not gonna hit 377 all season. Understood. They're not going to average whatever they're averaging now, 11 runs a game. That 11 and a half runs a game. That clearly isn't going to happen either. Those numbers are all going to come down. But they are doing what they're supposed to do to mediocre pitching. They are bashing the tar out of it. Like they're overmatching these teams. I just looked at they're slugging 630 as a team. The opponents are slugging 327. They have, what am I looking at, 44, 70 extra base hits. Their opponents have 36. They've out-homered them 26-6. They've outscored them 168-48. Like, they are doing that, like, not only are they 14-0, which is the best they could be, they're not winning a lot of 3-2 nail-biters where they just kind of lucked into wins. They are absolutely dominating these teams, which is a good sign, right? Like, absolutely. That's what Florida State should do to New Orleans and Butler. But it's not what Florida State has routinely been doing the last few years. And, quite honestly, look around the country. Like, Florida lost on Saturday to St. Mary's. Should have lost on Friday, honestly. They were down 2 in the ninth, I think. They should have lost that. I don't know if they won on Sunday. I assume they did. But they could have lost and probably should have lost that series to St. Mary's. And then you just talked about Texas A&M had to come back in the ninth to beat a 2-10 Rhode Island team. The point being, there's parity everywhere. This is baseball. I've got to quit living on quit qualifying everything as the opponents. Like, we get it. Right. They're going to play much better teams, but 14-0 is impressive, no matter who you've played, because it's baseball. And to be 14-0, and again, not just be 14-0, but beating the bejesus out of these teams is what's so encouraging. Because the talent disparity between Florida State and these bad teams is exactly where it should be when you're Florida State. The dugout in New Orleans should be like, man, they got another one? This is their 9-hitter?
Yeah,
their 8 hitters hitting 400? Yeah. Like, what? Who? Cam Smith, where did he come from? Like, who is this guy? And he's not even the best hitter on the team? And he might be. Tibbs, I think, is the best hitter on the team, but Cam Smith has the best numbers right now. Either way, that's a fun argument to have because they're both, like you said, they're both awesome. And they're both they're both going to be high draft picks. I think they're both going to play in the major leagues. And they're batting 2 and 3. And Jaime Ferrer hit a home run in like 4 straight games. And he's kind of the afterthought. He's got the lowest average of anybody in the starting 9, and he's hitting 315 and slugging 704. So, again, I just think that's what's so cool about it is for years, Florida State, the offense, I think, has gotten by on, they take a lot of pitches, they would walk, they're all wiry guys. There might be one dominant hitter like Matt Nelson. Yeah. But other than that, it was like 2 guys that were real threats. And everybody else was just kind of, get on base. He might run into one every other weekend. He'll end up with 5 or 6 home runs. This is a team that could have 8 guys with 10 home runs. But more importantly than that, they have 9 guys that can all hit. I think they have more than 9. Like I just said, they have 12 or 13 guys that can really hit. So that's encouraging. Now, look, Florida is going to be a whole different ballgame on Tuesday. I doubt they're going to score 12 in that one. And then I wonder, then you get in the ACC play. But look, man, I don't think this offense is a fluke. It's not going to average 11 a game, but I don't think there's anything fluky about these guys. I think these are some all ACC caliber, draft pickable. I think draftable is the word you're looking for there, Clark. Draftable hitters 1 through 9. Like, really, I do. Like, I think, and Diamez Ross is a guy that, he's the one guy that isn't really a power threat. And sometimes I wonder, in this day and age of college baseball, do you want your guy with the least power getting the most at bats? which he will because he's the leadoff hitter. But, he gets on base. He's walked 11 times. He's only struck out 5. He puts the ball in play. He's got a little pop, and he's so good defensively. And that's another thing we got to talk about, Aslan. They've made 10 errors this year in 14 games. Last year, so that's like 0.7 errors per game. Last year, they made like 1.3 errors per game. They gave up 54 unearned runs last year. If they had to get outs, they were going to be strikeouts. This defense so far through 14 games has been not just okay, it's been solid to good.
9.79 fielding percentage. 40th best in the country.
Think about where they were, man. That's incredible. And that's the thing, right? Like, we know the hitting and the pitching is going to regress to the mean a little bit once they start facing better competition. You face better hitters, you're going to give up more runs. You face better pitchers, you're not going to score as much. But the defense is the one thing that should be constant throughout, right?
Yeah.
Like, defense is defense. It doesn't matter if a Florida kid hit a two-hopper to you or a kid from Butler hit a two-hopper to you. You're either going to field it or you don't. And that's what's been encouraging is the way they field. They don't give away extra outs. They make most of the routine plays, almost all the routine plays, and they make some spectacular plays. It's been good to see. It's been good to see the uptick in the way they play defense. And obviously, I had no idea. I thought the offense would be better, but it's been better than we could have imagined. I think Cam Smith turning into not just a pretty good college baseball player, but perhaps a top 15 pick type dude, like a superstar. That has been a real boost, a shot in the arm, let's say. Because you have who I think is one of the best college hitters in the United States right behind him.
Yep.
So that's fun. And then Ferrer, again, right after him.
Yep.
So it just doesn't stop. And Farrow.
Yep.
And then after that, it's Lodies is back there. Holbrook is back there.
Cantu and Dinges. I think Dinges is kind of your DH right now, probably. They want him to be that guy, it seems like. So
yeah, and he's hitting 400.
Yeah.
With 3 bombs, slugging 686. Yeah. And Tibbs is slugging 912. The whole team, other than Lodies, who has 8 walks, Lodies and Ferrer are the only 2 people that have more strikeouts than walks on the whole starting 9. Really, the whole team, it looks like. Man, that at this time of year, again, get it. Conference play, Florida, blah, blah, blah. To have this kind of bat-to-ball ability, to make contact, to field the ball, those are just really good signs because you feel like those will translate. They're going to translate to the better competition. Being able to put the bat on the ball and being able to pick it up are things that will translate. The pitching we still don't know about, like you said. But we'll find out a lot more over the next 2 weeks. I think, like you said, Leiter and Arnold were good.
And Arnold is still your Saturday guy, but just with the way the weather was working out this weekend, they didn't want to have him go through his routines and then not be able to throw because of the rain on Saturday. But, that's still your 1-2. What do you think they do Tuesday? I don't think – Link said last week Connor's a guy that they want to get back into the weekend rotation. Notre Dame is a target. I don't know, maybe one more game you have him go midweek so you want to beat Florida, or do you go to like Ben Barrett? Is he a guy that you would feel good about starting in a midweek game?
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Or you could start Whitaker and have him pitch 3 innings.
Yeah.
And then he's got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday off. He gets 4 days rest, and then he can start on Sunday, and then he's in that if you want to use him. Because otherwise, then he's going to go like 12, 14 days without pitching?
Yeah.
That's never good either. So I think you might pitch him for a few innings. But, yeah, Barrett, Whitaker would be probably a good combination out of there.
And John Abraham, I'm not dialed into baseball recruiting, but he's a true freshman. And, man, that breaking ball that he was throwing on Sunday – pretty nasty. Maybe not 12-6, but it was like 12 to 430.
And it was that New Orleans isn't a joke either.
No.
Like they won 36 games last year. I mean that's a pretty good program. They were 1 win away from the NCAA tournament. They lost in there, but 36 wins is a lot.
More than we had last year.
Well, a lot more.
Yeah.
For them to come in and sweep them and shut them out twice. Yeah, that's good for and the only time they gave up any runs at all was, like you said, the bullpen game. Where Armstrong pitched well, and then you had some guy. When you throw 6 guys in a game, odds are 1 or 2 of them aren't going to be good, and they weren't. And you give up whatever you gave up 7 or 9 runs in that game. But the 2 main guys, and Whitaker's solid. So if Leiter and Arnold can be this, and Whitaker can just be what he's been his whole career, pretty good. That's not a bad starting trio. But the big, like we talked about, the big question will be who are the reliable arms out of the pen. Yeah. But you're right. Abraham, I thought, looked really good against New Orleans. Those guys were ducking out of the way like they'd never seen a curveball, which tells you all you need to know about his curveball, right? Mm-hmm. Like they acted like it was they were taking called strike threes. They didn't come close to it. So it must be a pretty nasty pitch. And he throws it in the low 90s on top of that. So yeah, man, he's an intriguing arm along with the Dorsey kid. Yep. So they got some pitchers, man. It's about how they do in the moment. None of them have ever pitched in Florida before. Yeah. None of them have ever pitched in an AC game, a deciding game 3 in the ACC or in the postseason. Those are all the questions that still need to be answered. But right now, these are exclamation points they're giving us.
I was going to ask you, like, how many guys do you want, like, out of the bullpen? I mean, obviously, you want 30 guys, but like, what's a reasonable number to get where you hope you would want to go? Because let's say that Connor Whitaker is a starting pitcher, one of your weekend rotation guys. If you got Barrett, you got Oxford, Carson Dorsey, I think John Abraham's now in that conversation. Like, that's 4 guys right there. And then Andrew Armstrong's a guy that's been somewhat reliable. Yeah. If Joe Charles is finally right, I mean, Joe Charles is kind of maybe on the periphery. I think that's like 5 guys I feel pretty confident about before you start talking about guys like Joe Charles who've played a lot of baseball. So I guess it's more about seeing them actually perform against a big level opponent. But it seems like if one guy is going to be slumping that night and can't find the strike zone, like they have other guys they can go to. And it's crazy to think because last year it was just such a bad moment whenever whoever was throwing ran out of gas in the first few innings.
Yeah, they just said, yeah. So I would say, man, I think you would probably want, if you have 3 starters that you can depend on, which right now they do, you're going to want 5 guys at least that you feel comfortable with in the postseason. Like, you know what I mean? You want five reliable arms. Anything more than that, it's going to be some wear and tear, and you might lose some effectiveness. So that's what you want, though, is if you can figure out 4 to 5 guys, hopefully at least a couple from each side of each arm, left and right-handed. You have a chance to have a pretty good pitching staff. I'm not convinced they have anything close to a dominant pen, which I feel like in college baseball is a must to like win things. And I mean trophies. Yeah. To win a lot of games you can get by, but to win trophies you need to have a couple. You need to have. I feel like you just need a closer. You need a couple of you need lights out bullpen guys, and they might have them. That's the exciting part. They might have them. We just don't know because we haven't seen enough of them yet. But there does look like there's some potential for a couple of guys. But no matter what, man, like, again, to go from an abject horror show, just awful, embarrassing play last year, to now being one of only 2 undefeated teams in the country out of, 300?
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, all these schools, most of the big Power 5 schools play lesser competition throughout the year to start the season. They're going to lose a couple of them. It's just how life works. The best Florida State teams of all time have lost a few of these early non-conference games. So let's not just shrug off 14-0. But 14-0 coming off the worst season in school history, what a shot in the arm that is for Link's, not only Link's tenure, and like, oh yeah, this guy does know what he's doing, clearly. Like, he's turned the program around quickly. But also the guys that are still left over from last year, the guys that have been here for a year or two, like, just the confidence that they're not on a losing baseball team.
This is what they signed up for when they came to
Florida
State.
Like Cam Smith, Tibbs, Ferrer, Whitaker, Ben Barrett, guys like that, Diamez Ross, they were on the worst Florida State baseball team of all time. They lived with that from June into February. They were part of the worst Florida State baseball team of all time. Obviously, it wasn't their fault. I named the good players, but they were. Yeah. And so to go from that to being 14-0 and actually ranked, being kind of getting the fan base excited again, that's just so that the belief that they now have in themselves of they might think they're the best team in the country. They aren't. But they might think they are, which is most of the battle anyway. To go from being on a losing team, a historically losing team, to being 14-0, what does that do for their confidence? What does that do for their belief in each other? What does that do for the belief of other people that might be joining this program next year and the year after that? It's 14. I know they got 40 games left. So, but it's kind of, you feel for them like a Tibbs and a Ferrer. If this could be a nice 38-40 win team, man, that's really cool. That's like, I'm trying to think of someone. Toafili being on probably the worst Florida State team of my lifetime in 2020 to being on a 13-0 team and scoring a touchdown in an ACC championship game. Like, that's cool for them. Yeah. And so hopefully that kind of stuff can happen for these guys, too, on the baseball team, because Lord knows they suffered through way too many losses, and now they look to be a legitimately good college baseball team.
They were 202nd in the nation in fielding percentage last year. They were 174th in Meat's final year, 197th in 11's final season.
And now they're what, 40th?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, 14 games. We'll see where they finish. But, man, it's just more fun to watch. They hit a ground ball to third. You're like, okay, inning over.
Yeah.
Where's this throw going? So, man, it's just again, when you can field the ball, and that's the stuff that translates. It's the stuff that plays at home and on the road. It's stuff that plays against good opponents and bad opponents. Being able to pick up the baseball. It's static. It's not supposed to go anywhere. That ability travels, and that's good that they have that, because they have needed it and they missed it for. I feel like they've missed it for decades. They have not been a good fielding team since Jordan Travis's brother was the second baseman. It's been a long time since you could call Florida State a good defensive team. Right now, I think this is a good defensive team. Not great, but good. And that's certainly better than what they've been the last 10 to 15 years for sure.
Oh, man, I tried to pull it up, but I went to the wrong tab. Now I'm going to see if I can rally quickly, Internet. Quickly, Internet.
Come on, do it.
Brought to you by MetroNet. They were 113th that year that they went to Omaha in 12, Devin's final swan song.
You know what, though? Take away the shortstop's errors.
Love you, Justin.
Hey, man, I didn't name them. I didn't say who it was. But that was, they struggled there at shortstop. I forgot about that. But they had Sherman Johnson was a great third baseman. Yep. And Devin was a major league second baseman. And then Jace Boyd was good at first, man. That was a good infield other than that one position.
Who had Danny Delacaille? Was that the catcher?
Was he that long ago? Maybe.
Can't remember.
It wasn't Buster. I know that.
I know that as well. I know it's March, everybody, and we're, like a week away from Selection Sunday. That's awesome. MyBookie.ag.
Well, that won't matter. Well, how about Selection Monday? Isn't that the women?
Yeah.
And the women actually will be in the tournament, so Selection Monday.
All right, Selection Monday for the ladies. Made it to the ACC semifinals. Shout out to them. You can make your picks for the postseason tournaments over at MyBookie.ag when you use the promo code WARCHANT. It gets you an instant cash deposit bonus. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere. NCAA basketball, NHL. Shoot, if you want to bet on tennis, that's available. Premier League, NHL. Did I already say that? NBA, live betting, live casino. It's all there for you. Futures as well. And then obviously, once tournament season starts. Promo code again is WARCHANT. That promo code, disclaimer, requires a $50 minimum deposit and a rollover requirement of one-time deposit total, including bonus for withdrawal. For full terms and conditions, visit mybookie.ag/about-us. On the way out, Corey, were you able to read anything from Tour of Duty? Are you excited about, did you see any names that were mentioned? You're like, all right, cool to see it. Any questions you have about Tour of Duty now that you have me here in front of you, and I was able to watch most of it through a camera lens, filming it on Thursday morning?
No. What you have any observations I need to hear?
I told him to Ira, so I guess when you're driving back to Tallahassee this week, just listen to the podcast from last Friday.
Oh, okay.
And you'll get all that you need there. What do you think about the squat party and my guy Vandravius squatting about as much as DJ Uyunglele? I was a little bit concerned about that. I don't know. I mean, shout out. I guess it's 405.
What did they squat? Could you tell the plates?
405. 4 plates.
Well, isn't 405 pretty good?
That's amazing for Vandravius. Weighing
that's what I'm saying.
pounds.
Even for your quarterback, that's not horrible, is it?
I mean, he was using the safety bar, which I think is a little bit easier than a conventional barbell. But, yeah, I guess I should look at, instead of being in the Aslan, cynic perspective, I should look at it through the Corey Clark optimistic thing, where it's like, yeah, man, 405 is crazy. DJ was stroking 405, and the guy that's going to be blocking on the outside was also doing that. Josh Farmer, I think it was doing like 565 and like good. I mean, he went deep. He went deep on that squat.
He went deep, good.
So some guys, I'm not going to mention names, are like, really, man, that's your range of motion on the squat. Come on, Josh, get on these guys. But that was cool to see the squat party going strong with all these dudes. But
that's pretty remarkable. That seems like a lot for because it's not. There are receivers that are big. Obviously, Florida State just had a couple of them. But Vandrevius is he looks kind of wiry and like a slotty, like a nickel, like a slot guy, like a kind of wiry dude, like a speed dude. For him to do 405 is, I feel like, pretty impressive.
Strong man, yeah.
Especially for his second year in the system.
Yeah.
He's only been here a year.
I'm trying to see what's going on with his weight here. He's listed at 6 foot, but for some reason, it's taking way too long to load. And it's not my computer's fault, and it can't be my internet's fault. I'm going to blame it on Google and the DNS server or whatever. But, yeah, he can't be more than 175 pounds. 6 foot 175 is what he's listed as. Yeah, that's me. That's practically me. I'm 6 foot like 175 practically. If I did 405, I would crumple. Or
I feel like 405 is a lot.
It is.
What do you squat?
Man, I haven't done a back squat in like 2 years. I front squatted 185 for 1 rep, not this past Friday, but the Friday before.
And I don't even know what a front squat is. So who knows what I can squat? Probably, I assume less than that.
You can do I'm sure. I will say 225. You're an athlete. You can do 225.
But also, like, why am I at my age? What am I going to be squatting for?
Yeah.
Just to throw out my back?
Exactly.
Or fall down and die with the dumbbell hit, the barbell hits me. I'm not doing any of that nonsense. But yeah, so no, I didn't really look for anything to stand out at the tour of duty. We are in the countdown. We are basically a week away at this point. We are 8 days away from the start of practice, right?
Yes.
And when you bring up the quarterback in the squat, it's like, well, nobody's going to be talking about DJ's lack of strength or leg. He's a big dude. If he can only squat as much as Vandrevius Jacobs, I think it's more of a testament to Vandrevius, and it ain't gonna make DJ any easier to tackle. He's gonna fall forward. He's a big dude, right?
He is.
Yeah.
Shout
out to the softball team. They went 3-1 this weekend.
They did. That is correct. They also scored a whole bunch of runs.
The last game, yeah. They also
lost to Florida Gulf Coast. They scored 8 against Purdue, 15 against Purdue the next game, 6 against Western Michigan, and 13 against Florida Gulf Coast on Sunday.
So it's just a crazy year for Florida State softball. They're 15-5, so I know where the bar is, but it's like I was followed on Twitter on, I guess, Saturday, and they scored a run in the first inning, and then like 20 minutes later, another tweet comes across that says, got some work to do, Purdue 6, Florida State 1 at the end of 1. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? That's like, and then on Sunday, they gave up, I think, 4 to Florida Gulf Coast in the first inning. And it's like, I don't remember Florida State softball since Lonnie's been here giving up 5 runs in an inning, period, in any inning. And I feel like this year, they've probably given up 5 runs in an inning like 6 times. It's just a bizarre world we're living in. But the offense is so good that it hasn't mattered. And yeah, on Sunday they beat Florida Gulf Coast 13-6, and Michaela, and they were down 6-3, I think.
Correct.
And then they scored the last 10 unanswered.
Correct.
And highlighted by Enfield's grand slam. And then so that was good. They're 15-5. The offense is still very, very good. Pitching, still some question marks. And then the women's basketball team won a couple of games up in North Carolina at the ACC tournament, which was good. They got shelled in the semifinals against NC State, but NC State's just better than they are. But that is cool that they're guaranteed of being in the tournament. And the projection I saw, Aslan, from I can't remember his name, Charlie Cream maybe, Creme. Yeah. The bracketologist for women's basketball, he had them as an 8 in Iowa City. Playing Princeton in the first round, and if they win that,
your niece?
Playing Iowa in the second round. Yeah, playing my niece in the second round. Wouldn't that be something? Let's
go through. Let's shock the world. If we're going to do this, let's go through the Tulsa Mountains.
I think they were sent to Iowa last year, but Tanaya didn't play. Latson didn't play, so they didn't win the game. And whoever they did lose to got. I think that maybe they played Georgia. Remember, I feel like that's right. But then whoever beat Florida State played Iowa really well and was in the game late, but Iowa pulled away, obviously, and got to the championship game.
It was Georgia. They were a 7 seed. They played Georgia at the 10 seed, and then Iowa took out Georgia 74-66 in the second round.
That was a close game for a second-round game. So, hey, you know what? This year, they're sending them back to Iowa City. They're familiar with the venue, and this time they'll get to play Caitlin Clark. It'll be Latson versus Clark, the dream matchup, and maybe tonight will go off for 50. And shout out to South Carolina for beating LSU women's basketball. Good job, Don. What a fun ending that was.
On the court and in more ways than one.
That's crazy.
What
an eventful tournament for that young lady. She banks in a game winner and then knocks that LSU girl to the other side of the court in the span of 24 hours.
The show's gone on way too long.
We're done.
So you said something about Malik Benson a few weeks ago, just, like, hey, what if he's really good? But I feel like you said it in a way to where you were kind of putting some of your currency inside of Malik Benson Incorporated on the market. Did you hear anything? Was this a coracle kind of call? Because afterwards on Thursday when we spoke to Storms and we spoke to Norvell, they talked about him in particular, about his leadership and the way he's come out and performed. And he was noticeably leading guys, cheering authentically. It wasn't like, hey, man, put me on camera, please. I want to get my face out there. It seemed like he'd been there for 3 or 4 years, and these are guys that he's known his whole life. And it was really cool to kind of see that from a guy that's only been on campus for, 2.5 months. So I don't know. Did you have a hunch on him or something? Did somebody tell you, or that was just Corey being Corey?
No inside knowledge. It's just a hunch. But I have bought some stock in Malik Benson. I think he does have a chance to have a very, very big year and be a NFL wide receiver in a year or two. Yeah. That's when I would sell my stock, is when he gets to the NFL. But I'm buying low and I'm going to sell high. But I do believe in Malik, and that's good to hear. See, those are the kind of observations we're looking for, Aslan.
Well, we gave it on the show on Friday. Ira and I.
Well, no, I got you. That's what I'm saying. I'm glad y'all talked about it, because that's the kind of stuff you can get. Is the stuff that's not, and you can. The beauty of being old, like I am. I shouldn't put you in my age bracket. Is you? I do think we do a good job of knowing when it's authentic.
Yeah.
When you can tell when somebody's authentically happy for someone, or just acting like they're happy for someone because they're supposed to. Like watch an NBA bench and watch the dudes that just stand up because almost like robotically, my teammate made a 3. Let me stand up and hold up a 3 and then go sit back down and look in the stands for whoever I'm going to Snapchat at later. Like you can see that, and then you see guys that really genuinely care. And that's good to know about Benson, because that's, obviously we would have no way of knowing that, but that's good to know about him. And the Roydell Williams guy, you heard a lot of great things about him too. Just as him as a person, I mean.
Yeah. He was wearing a black jersey, and as I told Ira, black jerseys are usually walk-ons during the season, but there were several scholarship guys, so I kind of zoned out on filming guys that were in black uniforms, which Earl Little Jr. was in one as well. So I was like, we don't need to get him on camera. And I'm like, oh, shoot, that was Earl Little Jr. In hindsight. But, yeah, man, they'll be all right. Josh Farmer looks gigantic, Corey.
Good.
He was listed at 311 last year, but, man, I don't know. He looks a completely different 312 pounds, I think, is what Storms had him at. Almost scary. I thought it was scary big, but Storms is like, oh, he's moving fine. So that was the one thing Ira and I were maybe not eye to eye on. And Sean Murphy and Grady Little. Not Grady Little. Grady Scott?
Yeah, Grady Kelly.
Grady Kelly.
Grady Little's the guy that left Pedro in too long 20 years ago.
That's why I pumped the brakes on that one to me. I'm like, no, it's not Grady Little.
And it's not Grady from Sanford and Son.
And it's not. Let's just. It was one day. It was 75 minutes. We'll see in a week.
But the beauty is, like we said, we get to watch almost every practice starting in a week, and there are so many new people to watch, actually watch and report back on. Genuinely excited about it. So can't wait. We're just biding time until then.
We'll try to get an interview this week. I think next week, since we'll actually have practices to have observed, we'll open it up for a mailbag for you folks. But we'll knock out 2 more shows this week. Florida State obviously taking on Florida on Tuesday in baseball, and then a basketball team in D.C. taking on Virginia Tech on Wednesday at noon. So that'll give us some ammo for some shows too. So we'll be here. I think Jeff Cameron comes back midweek. I think he might be off today and tomorrow.
I think spring break. He went somewhere with the kids, I think.
He's a dad. They're allowed to do that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So, but Warchant.com's got you covered. Matt Lasser, Ben Spicer were actually out at the Moore Center doing recruiting. So go check all that stuff out, see what the latest is and the greatest. He's Corey. I'm Amazon. We'll be back with 2 more shows for you this week. It's been Wake Up Warchant presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.